everyone, my name is Paige and today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up and June TBR. If it's any indication of how late this video already is, you can already tell that June has been kind of hectic and crazy for me, so I don't really know how many books I'm going to read this month, but let's just get started on what I read in May. Even in May, I didn't read that many books. There were only 7 that I got to last month. The first book I read was Wait for Me by Caroline Leach. I had mentioned this in my last wrap-up video that this was something I really wanted to get to this month, and I'm really glad I did. I really enjoyed this book, so much so that I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. And it is about a girl who lives in Scotland, and while she's working on her father's farm, there is a German prisoner of war who comes and starts working for them as part of his prisoner duties. It was a really great story about overcoming stereotypes and falling in love, and I just really enjoyed it. The next book I read was The Love and Lies of Roxana Ali, and this is by Sabina Khan. I was kind of conflicted about this book because I'd heard really mixed reviews before I even read it, and I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars because while I did enjoy the story, there were just really some touchy moments that I was like, I don't know if this is exactly how the story should go. Basically, it follows the story of Roxana Ali, and her parents find out that she is a lesbian, and they send her off to Bangladesh so they can try to convince her to agree to an arranged marriage. Obviously, there are a lot of different things going on in this novel, but number one, there was like mentions of conversion therapy, and her parents were just really awful, and I didn't particularly like how it ended in that her parents were kind of totally forgiven. The next book I read was The Real Tudors, Kings and Queens Rediscovered. This was such an interesting novel that I actually just randomly read one day in the British Library. Basically, the entire book focuses on the paintings of the Tudors, and they have all these pictures of the paintings that have been x-rayed and radiographed, and just all this stuff is super cool, and you could see like the sketches that the artist had done before they actually painted, and it was just really, really interesting. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars because I'm totally obsessed with history and the Tudors, and I just loved learning more about them. I then read As Kismet Would Have It, and this is by Sonia Menon. This is the When Dimple Met Rishi kind of sequel. It's like a little novella, and I actually gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. This is the lowest I've ever rated a Sonia Menon work, and I was just kind of disappointed by the story. I don't know, I just don't think she does short stories very well. I like them better when they're long and fleshed out, and you can really get a lot from the characters. Obviously, I love Dimple and Rishi, but I just didn't feel like they shined here. The next book I read took me a really long time to finish just because it was so full of information, and that's Mary Queen of Scots by John Guy. I loved this book. I was reading this actually when I was in Scotland, and I just had so much fun learning about Mary Queen of Scots. What really interested me in reading this was seeing the movie Mary Queen of Scots, which is based on this book, but there were just a lot of differences between the movie and the book, and I actually enjoyed the book more. Obviously, I was able to learn a lot more of Mary Queen of Scots through the book rather than the movie, but it was nice to be able to put faces to names, and that always helps me with these really old history books. I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars because I think John Guy, his perspective is a little skewed when it comes to Mary Queen of Scots. He seems like a huge fan of her, and while I am too, I do agree that she has faults where I feel like he doesn't really see them. Going along with that same royalty aspect, I then picked up The Royal Runaway, and this is by Lindsay Emery. I had purchased this book a long time ago for my Kindle, and I just never got around to it, so I finally picked it up, and I was honestly kind of disappointed by it. I love stories about royalty and fictional royalty worlds, and I don't know, I just love like contemporary royalty romances, but this one just really didn't do it for me. I didn't connect to any of the characters. Most of the time I had really no idea what was going on. We were just kind of thrown into this story a little too quickly, I think, and I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was one that I picked up on NetGalley, and that was Tycoon's Temptation, and this is by Yuki Shiomiya. I think I'm saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. She was the artist, but then Trish Moray was actually the one who wrote the book. Harlequin's doing this thing right now where they're re-releasing older Harlequin romances as manga, which I totally love because I love manga. But this one was kind of a letdown for me. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. While I do appreciate Harlequin kind of going into this other genre and exploring something new, I just didn't really connect with the story at all, so I think it was more the story than the format. NetGalley has a ton of these on their website right now though, so I definitely want to try out another one. Okay, so that's everything I read in May. Now let's talk about what I want to read in June. I've already finished one book in June, but I'll wait to tell you about that in my June wrap-up and July TBR. So let's talk about what I'm currently reading, which is This Time It Will Be Different by Misa Suigara. I might be saying that last name wrong again. I don't know. This book has already come out. It came out at the beginning of June, but I started it yesterday and I'm already flying through it. If you watch my book haul that I just posted, actually, you'll be able to see what this is all about. As it is summer, I would really like to get to some more of my beachy summer light contemporary reads, and one of the ones that I want to get to is Famous in a Small Town by Emma Mills. I received this a while ago from Fierce Reads and just never got around to it, and I've never read anything by Emma Mills, so I'd really like to try something out by her. Also, I just love stories that have to do with famous people and movies and anything like that, so I can't wait to read this. And then the next one that I would really like to get to is If I'm Being Honest, and I have to read the author names because I always forget. Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. This takes place in LA, which is kind of my hometown, and is about private school kids, and I don't know, I just love anything like that that's kind of like reminiscent of the A-List series, if anyone remembers that old YA series. Anyway, I'm super excited to read this. I haven't read any books by them yet, and there's another one that I have by them on my bookshelf that I just have never gotten around to yet, so I'm very excited to check this one out too. I'm also hoping to do a reread, and that would be of Suddenly Royal. This is by Nicole Chase. I've read this book in the past, gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and totally loved it, but I haven't read it since college, and I'd really like to get back to this series because I always think about it when I'm away from home, so hopefully I can get to this before I have to go back to London in July. Also, if you haven't read this series yet, do it! Do it! It's so good. You won't regret it. I'm gonna leave it at that because whenever I tell myself I'm gonna read all these books, I usually end up reading none of them, so I'm not gonna pressure myself. Definitely let me know what you guys are gonna be reading in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye! It's like, John Sky, no. I don't know.